are live. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about that new intro? What do you think about that? That's get you hyped.
Man, I was getting hyped.
Big Jerry hyped.
I was hyped up.
He was
That
doing
was
the nay-nay. He was doing the Dougie.
It's a shame you guys don't get to see that.
He was hitting the whip out there. I have a video of Jared doing the whip. It's like one of the funniest things of all
and a
time.
nay-nay.
No, you didn't. Well, no, you didn't nay-nay. It was just a whip. But welcome to the Three-Man Rush podcast. I'm your host, Landon Oliver, here with my two boys, my two co-hosts, Andrew Scott and Big Money Jared Holly down there.
Whoa.
Big Money Holly.
Let's victory lap for a second. Landon Oliver had a pretty good hit this weekend as well.
I had a nice little Indiana Pacers parlay. Nice little basketball action because I know nothing about football apparently anymore. So yeah, I changed sports. Went straight to basketball. $500 on the first night off $10. Let's go. But Jared had a pretty strong week, I believe, this week in DFS. We did not do a DFS show, obviously, because of the holidays. So it is only right that we hit for huge money when we don't do a show. That is what it's all about. And I believe Drew won a little bit of cash too.
Sure did.
Yeah, I between the Sunday main slate and then the Sunday night Island game, I tripled my money. Which I didn't play a huge amount of money, so it's not like I'm a millionaire or anything now. But I mean, any weekend
you did play an Island game though, so does that make you an Island boy? Are you an Island?
I guess I am. I've been one for quite a while, I guess. But yeah, no, it was a good weekend though.
It wasn't
Drew, we were all texting back and forth. He's like, if Quez Watkins would just do something about that time, like boom, touchdown. I was like, you're in it, man. You're good.
I saw it from like the haziness of like my 102 fever. I like looked up from my phone and it was Watkins, and I was just like, huh? And I just went back to sleep. But I semi understood what was happening. So happy to win some money, and make sure you guys follow us on this coming up Friday, whenever we will be doing a live show, Jared. No, well, let's pass off the Drew. So we do have a little bit new of a format. We're kind of getting away from the game previews, the monotonous talking about shit we don't really want to talk about, for YouTube, trying to be
just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, like just for the sake of being like, we're going to try to be a professional football show. Like we're done. Like we're just here to talk ball, to hang out, basically what we would do if we were sitting on the couch together, TV on, just watching football. This is what we were going to talk about. And then obviously, if you are joining us live here, whether that's on YouTube, whether it's on Twitter, go ahead, give us a follow on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. That way you can be notified if you hit the bell notification anytime we go live, which is going to be twice a week now. We are going to be doing a live show, just talking about whatever we want to talk about. And then Friday, of course, is the big DFS preview for all of you gambling fiends out there, including us.
So I didn't get to victory lap real quick. So if anybody is playing on FanDuel, please continue not to play Josh Jacobs, because I will gladly do it when he is not getting owned. It worked out extremely well. The main slate, I got kicked in the dick the entire week. At the very beginning of that, it was rough. And then I decided, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to play this afternoon, this late slate. And Josh Jacobs had the performance he did. And I took down the tournament because of that. So it was a pretty good week.
So the tournament that you took down, that wasn't a full slate one? That was one that you just put together for the afternoon slate only?
Yeah. So, I mean, the noon slate, man, I got pummeled. It was bad. Like, I had Tyler Boyd, did nothing. I played Hayden Hurst, who had a good game. And then I did everything that I'm trained not to do. I played the chalk running backs, and they did not get there. I mean, Jeff Wilson, Latavius Murray, and the guy from Tampa, White. They all had good games, but none of them got there. And Josh Jacobs outscored the three of them. So, like, if I would have played my afternoon slate one instead of my noon lineup in the main slate in a single entry tournament, I would have came in second place and won $5K. with just my afternoons tournament. Yeah,
Pretty good Sunday. Not a bad Sunday.
It was good. It was a good Sunday.
I mean, you still hit 4 figures, so let's not say
Yeah. It was.
Let's not say it'd be like,
complaining.
and he missed that on 5K. Like he still hit thousands. So
yeah, I won. It was a $25 buy-in on a single entry on FanDuel. I can't remember what the name of the tournament was, but I got first place on it, won $1,000.
Jared's bitch. That's what the name of that contest.
That's what the name of it was.
After you got done with it.
So I mean, speaking of Josh Jacobs, you know where we stand on this podcast. We are hashtag never pay running back.
Hashtag. We should have dropped that hashtag too. If you're on Twitter with us, if you're live on Twitter, drop that in the comments. Hashtag
never pay our.
I'm gonna get unfollowed because I know Colts fans are watching this and they're like, "No, I give Jonathan Taylor so much money."
Somebody's going to give Josh Jacobs money because the Raiders declined his 5th-year option coming into the year. They used a 4th-round pick on Zamir White, I think, and then they turned around and gave Josh Jacobs as much work as he can possibly handle. I think Derek Carr is second on the team in carries with like less than 20 carries. I mean, this dude's just getting everything right now, and as some people tend to do on the last year of their contract, he is handling that work very, very well and performing to a point to where he's now going to force somebody's hand. And we know he's getting paid. Somebody's going to pay him. So, dude, is it going to be the Raiders though? Dude, exactly, Jacob. Exactly. So
I got coming through. He knows.
That's exactly right. So, do the Raiders give him the bag though?
MySpace stock.
Hey, look, that was
doing
hard
really well right now too.
Back when Facebook, you had to get invited to join Facebook. Back when like we were in like high school, like Facebook had just kind of rolled around, and you were like, how do I get on there? It's like, oh, you have to be invited. You could only join. It was exclusive. So everybody just had a MySpace, and you'd get on there. I had my little my top friends, and then I do miss like having the music though, where like you would come in and you'd be like, oh, like I'm gonna put Newfound Glory. I'm gonna put
it'd be
I had like
live, like
Newfound Glory.
My favorite emo band.
Starting Line.
Yeah.
I miss. I'm an old pop punk guy. That early 2000s high school era. But yeah,
I think we should pay Josh Jacobs in cryptocurrency. I think that's what we should pay him in.
There were some guys that did that. They had like their signing bonuses converted to Bitcoin, and they got absolutely annihilated. So
yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, as I'm well aware of.
All my DGen friends are totally hurting right now.
Lost a good little bit of a cash. Which I mean, I bought Bitcoin back when I was in college. So this is like 10 something years ago. Whatever, it was like $17 a coin, and I only spent like $25 on it or anything. But I do have over one total Bitcoin. So whenever it got up to like 55K per Bitcoin, I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm not cashing out. I told Emily, I was like, I'm not cashing out till it hits 200,000. And now it's like worth like $17,000. And I'm like, God damn it. Like I should have cashed out. I could have paid my truck off. But this isn't a cryptocurrency show. We don't care about that shit. We care about giving running backs like Josh Jacobs the bag. Do the Raiders give Josh Jacobs the bag? It's the Raiders, so I'm probably gonna say yes.
That's the whole wild card part of the question.
Yeah, right. Like, have you seen Mark Davis's haircut? Like, come on, he doesn't. Which brings up a good point. To Jared's point, he doesn't even pay his barber. So why would he pay?
They're not paying Josh Jacobs. I don't.
You really don't think they will?
No, I don't. I think he'll wind up in the NFC somewhere. Hell, he may wind up in the 49ers. They can't. They have so many damn running backs. They're disposable.
Seahawks or 49ers.
They love to collect running back.
49ers will definitely pay him a big contract with Christian McCaffrey, and then like they'll give carries to whichever undrafted guy they sign next offseason.
They're running out of options. They have to feed McCaffrey from here on out.
Yeah,
Elijah
everybody
Mitchell.
else keeps going down.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Kittle's gonna get handoffs.
practice squad's deep, my guy. Practice squad is deep.
I think the
I
kind of
got those spots.
the summary of this that we seem to always come to with any running back coming up on their second contract is he is going to get paid. I don't know if it'll be the Raiders or not. Somebody's going to pay him though, and whatever he ends up getting paid, he most likely will not live up to that contract because it's just really hard for running backs on their second contract to live up to the contract, especially if he ends up getting in that 14, 15, $16 million range that the top running backs are getting paid. Like I just can't I like Jacobs. I don't think he's a bad running back. I just can't see him.
What do you think? What do you think Barkley's worth right now? Because he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year.
I think he's the best running back in football. So I even still would not want to pay him 15, 16 million. But I do think in terms of who should be the highest paid running back, I think he's right at the top of the list of guys that should be, considered for that top spot. So
I think the Giants take a discount, man. They let Barkley walk and they sign Josh Jacobs.
So here's something.
Oh, that's an interesting dynamic.
No, the Giants.
I do think that Barkley should get more than Jacobs on the open market. So
I think he will. I think namesake alone, and I think he's the better running back.
I think they'll franchise tag him before they let him out the door.
I don't know.
New York or Vegas?
New York.
New York. Yeah, I could see that. He's
that
so
might be okay.
So here's something that I want you guys to think about. So as we know, and I had this conversation with somebody the other day. We were talking, texting back and forth. Football is very, I guess, it goes in a cycle, right? Like it's always, circles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, as we see this year, the quarterback play, outside of a few guys, has been dreadful, right? The defense, scoring is down all over the board. It's finally kind of kicked up a little bit, but it's really being carried heavily by like a few teams. Because teams now don't have franchise quarterbacks the way they used to, you're seeing a lot more teams going into a more run-heavy fronts, like, the Giants or the Jets, the Seahawks, and these teams are having success with that. The 49ers, which I know Drew's going to hate it, but Jimmy Garoppolo is playing in football.
Jimmy Garoppolo had one good week. That doesn't qualify.
It's been more one good week, bro. It's been more one good week.
Not really.
All right,
I see where you're.
Okay,
I think the league is going back to.
They are. It's becoming more of a cycle now. It's like you see teams transitioning now.
It's still evolving. It's still evolving though, because with these run heavy fronts that are coming, the teams that are having a lot of the success are teams that are willing to have run heavy fronts with mobile quarterbacks and mobile quarterbacks too.
Yes.
That's the part. Like we are kind of going in a circle, but there's a new Jacobs. Surely to God they don't. Surely they don't free themselves of the McCaffrey contract just to tie themselves to a running back that's not as good as McCaffrey, right?
I like Foreman too, man.
That would especially whenever they have a guy as cheap as Deontay Foreman playing as well as he is. Like it wouldn't completely shock me if Carolina did that, but that would be really disappointing though. Yeah, see that's why I'm okay with paying Saquon too, is for that same reason you talked about with Eckler's. Yeah. Like Saquon's a complete back. He's going to help you with running the ball, and he's going to be one of your best pass catchers as well.
Is it Kamara? Kamara's a free agent.
Is it this year?
I believe it is. Let's look. Let's just pull it up. Let me pull up. Like y'all talk.
I'm gonna pull it up real quick.
I'm gonna mute.
There was something that I was getting at there. But yeah, so there's a small handful of running backs that I'm a little bit more comfortable paying, like CMC and Saquon, and Eckler's tough because I think he's even more up there in age, if I'm not mistaken, compared to Saquon. I think he's older, so like giving him another contract at this point, I think would be kind of tough if I'm not mistaken on the age. But like those guys that produce from the run game and the pass game, and then if they can pass block as well, it's just another pro. Those guys I'm a little bit more comfortable paying. But even then, it's still tough in terms of what the cap hit does from the running back.
No, you're
position.
right. So it's not this year. It's the year after. So these are the free agent running backs, undrafted free agents coming up in 2023. We'll just go a little bit down the list because I'm not going to really get into
unrestricted.
Samaje P. Ryan and all those guys. So Saquon, Kareem Hunt, Drew's favorite running back, Rashad Penny, Jamal Williams,
Penny can stay healthy.
Josh Jacobs, Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, Mixon did get his second contract. He just
got paid too.
Deontay Foreman. And then you get into
Foreman's a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina about to get Josh Jacobs.
Hey, very good.
Carolina really might go get Josh Jacobs, man.
Yeah, so I mean, that's
they're going to have the cap space, and they're going to have the need
Rex
of running
Burkhead.
back.
Jared loves Rex Burkhead.
No, his
I'm
time
a Burkhead kind of guy, man.
Axel.
Shifty.
I bet he won you some money late in the season. Like he's one of those guys that every year injuries come up in like week 17, if you play like the last week of the season DFS type shit.
Last year I think it was
the end of the season.
He was with the Texans. It was towards the end of the year. Yeah, he won me about $550.
Yeah, whenever guys start getting hurt at the end of the year, or like the players get set because the team's playoff spots already locked up, Rex Burkhead's like, put me in, coach, and he goes crazy. He has a couple of good games to keep his name in conversations, but
Rex Burkhead too.
I don't think the Raiders. I think
born in Winchester, Kentucky boy. By the way,
I think the Raiders blow up the entire roster. I think Derek Carr will be gone.
I can see that. His contract is very like they can get out of it after this year if they want to, and they're going to have supposedly maybe they could be in a position to draft a quarterback early this year. Yeah, we hit on that. That Mixon did get his second contract.
They got Samaje P. Ryan. I don't know why they gave Joe Mixon money. Samaje P. Ryan's out there just doing everything. That's kind of the point that we make all the time is like, week to week, they might not always be as good as Joe Mixon, but running back seems to be the position that's, easiest to replace the talent that you have to let go of in terms of being able to find a guy late in the draft and things like that. It's becoming much more common than it was whenever we were yelling about it 3, 4, 5, but even before we had a podcast, we used to yell about this shit in terms of running back. So that thought process is starting to become much more common now. But yeah, so it'd be interesting to see how that goes in terms of Josh Jacobs getting paid, because he's having a season to where he is going to get paid. It's just a question of who does it and who. I'll tell you where he should go.
Where should he go?
He should go to the Rams.
I really hope they don't pay him.
That's spicy. Look at this. Look at this one here. Colts and GM trades Taylor for a package similar to CMC, swing for a quarterback, and sign Kareem Hunt.
I was with
you.
I
would be cool with that, except not signing Kareem Hunt. I think they should they should draft.
This is a really good running back class.
Yes, it is.
Even if they don't draft Bijan Robinson, like there's still several running backs later on that could be had in the second or third round that like is still decent draft capital. But you won't be as high as what Bijan's going to command. So
like Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, Gibbs, Sean Tucker.
What about dude backs up by Bijan Robinson?
I think he's. I don't know. I don't know, but the point being,
I always gotta go through my list.
There's plenty of running backs to where like I don't think you need to pay a running back unless you're paying like if you're talking about paying somebody like
Rashawn Johnson.
You're talking about paying somebody like small money, for a year or something like that, like a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal with an easy out after the first year, something like that. I don't think that's that bad, but I wouldn't want to attach too much money to a running back, especially with the running back class that's coming up. If your favorite team has draft picks, that would be the route that I would want to go.
Colts do have an extra third rounder thanks to
most of the teams that are like a 1-year deal for someone like that. Your heavy hitters, they're Super Bowl contenders. They have a running back but there is one team that does not have a legit number one running back, and they play in the same division as the Raiders. That's Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, well, a lot easier.
They got cap room. They after the Tyreek Hill deal, they've got the money.
I don't know if they will though, because the Mahomes deal starts to really get heavy.
Yeah, that TV deal goes up though.
That's true.
Smart contract.
That's the one area that is inconsistent with Kansas City, which scares me for them for the playoffs too. To be honest with you, like they're one off Mahomes game away from a Cincinnati debacle like they had last year.
Yeah, well, Buffalo doesn't have a running back either, so
Buffalo's not that good.
True.
I think they kind of got exposed a little bit.
They're getting healthier finally.
Yeah,
They've been really banged up.
they're very, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Their practice report looks so much better today.
All right, so let's talk about a couple head coaches that have got to be on the hot seat at this point. So just reacting to some Week 12 stuff. So Cliff Kingsbury, Nathaniel Hackett. Man, we got a couple head coaches that are disappointing. One with a little bit more head coaching experience than the other. But so let's just start with the first one. Like the Cardinals just gave Cliff an extension this offseason for just making the playoffs. They're like, oh, thank you for making the playoffs. Here's another 4 or 5 year extension. So I mean, now historically the Cardinals, like since they've gotten better, they would start off hot and then they would just tail off. This year they started off cold, had a couple good games. Now they're still cold, and it doesn't really look like there's much hope for things to get much better. But
they've been banged up all year long too.
Yeah, it seems they always have a piece missing from their offense. Like they were without Hopkins to start the year. They get him back. Hollywood gets hurt. They get Hollywood back from injury, and then Ertz gets hurt.
What?
Like the offense hasn't been helped. James Conner.
Rondo Moore got hurt. Greg George got hurt.
Yeah, but you know what? You know what keeps you afloat during all that? A good head coach and a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, and that's another Cliff is an offensive mind, right? And I read something today that that was his calling card, right? Like, and to your sarcasm's point, I read today that his offense has never been better than like the 11th best offense in the league. Like that's where it's topped out at. It's like if you've got an offensive mind with the offensive weapons that you've had with Kyler Murray at quarterback, you would think at some point your offense would at least leap into the top 10 in terms of overall offense. And so it's like for a Rams fan, like I love it. I love to see teams within the division, being dysfunctional and paying people just for having playoff bursts and things like that. But I mean, as non-NFC West fans outside looking in, what's y'all's thoughts on Cliff and the Cardinals and how they move forward?
I think you keep Cliff, man. I think you give him one more year for full roster and see what happens. This year they've been snake bit. Hopkins was suspended right out of the gate, and you see what he's done since he came back. He's been elite wide receiver one. Murray's missed games. James Conner's missed games. They lost Zach Ertz for the year. It's been one snake bite after another, and they're basically the equivalent of the Chargers. But to Landon's point, though, too, is Kyler the answer to that franchise? I mean, we're talking about the coaching part, but
he better be after the.
Yeah, I was going to say they paid it. So here's the issue with that, though. So as much shit as Brandon Staley gets, do the Chargers have a winning record?
Yeah, barely.
Yeah, I don't care about barely. Do they have?
Hey, man, listen, the Chargers have a much better roster than what the Cardinals do. Yes, they do. There's people like myself included. I had the Chargers in the Super Bowl this year, and I'm not alone in that either. Like there was people that actually thought they could be a contender for the Super Bowl.
But here's the thing.
No one said the Arizona Cardinals.
This is the problem with Cliff. This is the problem with Cliff, and this is the biggest issue with that franchise right now. You have your head coach who's consistently not on the same page as your quarterback. They don't work well together. They don't game plan well together. Like, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not in the locker room. I don't know. But just judging on from stuff that I hear, stuff that's been reported, I'm not going to say it's animosity, but you can't have a franchise quarterback, which you've paid him like a franchise quarterback. You drafted him number 1 overall. Whether you believe he is or not, by all accounts, he is their franchise quarterback. And your head coach consistently not on the same page. You just can't have it. So at that point, what is keeping him around? I don't care about the roster construction. Like, a good head coach gets you through those, at least keeps you afloat, like the Chargers. And I mean, are we sitting here thinking that Seattle has a better overall roster after we just spent the entire offseason talking about how bad they were going to be? Like, you want to know why they're afloat? You want to know why Geno Smith looks the way he does outside of improvement, on his part? It's because
Pete Carroll has an agenda against Russell Wilson and had to show that he can.
Have a good coaching staff. You have to put your players consistently in positions to succeed.
And they
Pete
have
Carroll's have an even better record than Russell Wilson this year.
I do also need to say, to add on to that, Seattle, another thing that makes Seattle better than what we had them coming into the year is, no, I don't think anybody could have projected the impact that this rookie class would have had on Seattle. Like, it's so hard to understate.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying like. I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm saying you have to have a head coach that is able to pull that ability out of guys. And Cliff consistently doesn't do that. They're constantly in bad situations. They're bad in situational football. They're bad in every aspect that you need a team to be consistently good at. That's why they lose. I mean, like, I don't understand the thought, and like Jim Irsay is really bad about this too. I don't understand the thought of consistently handing out extensions to people that have not won a division, that have not won multiple playoff games. Like I know consistency is key, but it's not like the guy hasn't been there now for years. Like, if you have been there for years, your imprint should be on that roster. That team should be an extension of who you are as a head coach. And they consistently fade. And this isn't just the Cardinals that this has happened with. Do we not remember Texas Tech? Do we not consistently start out hot and fade whenever he was the head coach?
It was
this is not a one-off thing. This isn't
back to college.
Yeah, like this has been a trend for him now at multiple stops that he's been at. Like, so you haven't you can't keep making excuses every single year. Injuries are going to happen. It's part of the game. It's part of football. If you have the right guy in charge, you are able, and like, there's some injuries that, like, if you lose a head or, your franchise quarterback, which I know Kyler missed a couple games, that's part of it. But for the majority, Kyler's played this season. They're staring at a top 10 pick right now, man. Like,
I think you're kind of right on this, Landon. I mean, like, I am not a Mike McCarthy fan at all, but Dak missed games, and the Cowboys really didn't miss. They didn't skip a beat. They were still winning football games.
Look at the Jets. Look at the Jets.
Well, the Jets are better off with Mike White. I know the Mike White love is like,
yeah, but they were winning games with Zach Wilson
because
he was 4-1 as a starter.
Zach Wilson might be one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen play in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, like, we can get into that, but I'm just saying, like,
we will get into that next. Actually,
regardless, if you have the right guy in charge, you're able to overcome certain instances like this. And like, it might be, you might have a one-off year where it's, your team's decimated by injury and shit just goes sideways. That's going to happen. This is multiple years at multiple places that the same issues occur.
Well, we haven't even talked about the other guy, Nathaniel Hackett. I almost said I don't even know what I almost said. I almost cussed or something.
Nathaniel, he can't hack it. It's
Man,
rough. Man. It's
Rus-
no,
Russell
and
Wilson.
it's not all Nathaniel Hackett because Russ has looked really bad this year, man. But like Nathaniel Hackett was an offensive mind like that again, similar to Cliff. His call like he was the offensive coordinator for the Packers. Now Mike LaFleur, I would imagine, probably had the majority of the play calling duties in Green Bay. I don't know. I wasn't in the building, but that would be since Mike LaFleur was also an offensive mind. I would assume he would probably handle most of
Mike's doing a hell of a job with the Jets, but Matt
or Matt. Sorry, yeah, Matt. Thank you.
Mike's doing really good.
Mike is
Yeah.
doing great with the Jets, though. Sorry, we were just talking about the Jets, but yeah, no. So Matt LaFleur, I would assume that he probably handled most of the offensive play calling duties for Green Bay, but Nathaniel Hackett comes over. He's supposed to be the offensive mind, and then 2 weeks ago, your offensive minded head coach has to turn over play calling duties. Which, hey, if it's not working, good for you for realizing that and trying to delegate that, and then. I think his Kubiak has been calling plays the last 2 weeks, and they've had 2 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. So it's not like the change in who was calling plays really made that much of a difference either. So at that point, it's like you got to look at Russ, man. And I've been a huge Russ defender in the past, but I've never seen him look this bad. And I like even like pre-finger injury his last year in Seattle or like the year before that, he never looked this bad. And it's just
He looked
like
shell shots.
he went from a guy that looked like he was a future Hall of Famer to a guy that like I'm wondering when he's going to retire within like a
I
year and a half.
I
It doesn't
honestly
make any
see.
sense to me.
You used the word retire. I think it's coming.
He's not retiring. Not with that.
No,
I
he's
think
not retiring. He's got
he'll
so
ride
much
out
money.
that. He'll ride out that contract. He'll ride out.
He's
that
got a
contract.
long time to write out that contract.
Yeah,
I don't think
maybe
he'll
at
be
the
a
end of the
starter.
contract.
I think they'll pay him, man, and he'll ride the bench, or they'll find someone else to play quarterback. Like, which is kind of crazy because his
I
situation
don't think
coming into the
anybody
league,
make
where I think about his situation coming in too. Like they gave Matt Flynn all that money off of
nothing
one game.
close to what Russ is getting paid though.
No,
Like
I get it. I get it.
a guy of Russ's salary.
I
For lack of a better
understand,
term,
but hear me out. They gave Matt. They gave
with a
Matt
guy
Flynn
with
that
that much
money.
money's never been benched though. Not with that much
It's
money.
coming. It's coming because those fans are done,
Man.
man. They have booed them every week. They have not taken a week off of booing Russell Wilson.
I don't blame them. They haven't
Like,
had a week to where they shouldn't boo, but
it's coming. They will send him down for mental health reasons if they have to do it for anything else. Like it's bad in Denver right now.
Yeah, I think he's actually majority of the issue. I don't think Hackett's offense is technically like really looked that awful. It's really been more of an extension of like your quarterbacks.
I
One,
haven't done enough.
he's not making the proper reads. Like for whatever reason, I don't know what it is. Like he mentally is just gone.
I think that Hackett and his boys need to go back and just look at every Seattle game from like the last 5 years and figure out what the hell Pete and them guys were doing that worked that they're not
run the
doing.
football, deep play
But
action.
it was like, I mean, to an extent, yeah, but it was so much more than that. And Russ has looked like. And that's why I specifically said like the last 3, 4, 5 years because the early Rush years was a lot of just like, hey Marshawn, just carry us and carry us and carry us. But some of the later years, Russ did do a little bit more of the heavy lifting, and the offense was successful. And it like maybe not best in the league or anything like that, but it was never this bad.
Well, part of his issue now, and part of the main issue there, is that he is now. I mean, like for lack of better words, like he's lost a step. So all those plays, those plays that he would normally create out of structure, he was getting loose and making guys miss, and making that crazy deep shot, where only a few quarterbacks could. He's not making that anymore. Like he's lost a step. These defenders are catching him now. He's those amazing plays that we've seen over the last decade are now sacks or interceptions. And I mean, that's just father time. Like, and if you don't adjust to that and become more of a pocket passer, and you're able to stand in there, go through progressions, make the correct reads, know what the offense is doing. And some of that's growing pains, man. Like it really is. But now, I mean, look, dude, you're 13 weeks in. Like, you should know, you've had all off season and you're 13 weeks in. You should know the proper read for where you're going. And he's
I
not making
mean,
those reads in the pocket.
the other thing to consider too is like I know before the season started, you've seen all these videos of Russ throwing to these guys in the offseason. Like, I mean, they put the work in. I just feel like he's lost a step. He's not the same guy he was 3 years ago in Seattle.
Sometimes it's that simple.
Right. I mean, and I think the finger injury might be a bigger deal than what people realize. Like, it could be a lingering thing to where it's never
He
truly
really
healed.
hasn't. He hasn't seemed right since then. Like even
No.
in Seattle at the end of the last season before he left, like he never.
I mean,
looked
maybe
right
it is
before he
mental
came
and he's
back.
not trusting it because of the finger. But a lot
Well,
of these
and then on
issues,
top of that, he's had like 3 more damn injuries since the finger injury.
but
And
what I'm
I
saying
don't
is,
want to be the guy, but his wife is famous. He got paid. He got a little celebrity on us. I mean, in all actuality, he went from being the guy that we rooted for as the underdog who won his starting quarterback position, being a late round draft pick, to a guy that got a ton of money and has a celebrity wife, and he had a Subway commercial for a little bit until they pulled it. But like, I
decent
think
sandwich, by the way. Decent.
I don't know if football is his number one priority. I don't know if it is.
I don't
Well,
really
I mean, I
know.
don't know about that, but I mean, at the same time, like,
Yeah.
to your credit, I mean, like, there's been a lot of people, like, not just with Denver, but I mean, going back to Seattle, that he thinks that he's God's gift to football, and
He's above.
he rubs
And
people,
like
rubs
even
people the wrong
before,
way.
like apparently, even before Russ got that mindset that he was that way, the coaching staffs would treat him that way.
Yeah,
So like,
I mean, they
and
foster, like you foster it.
Well, they
players would
lost the Super
see
Bowl because of it too.
him get that preferential treatment and things like that,
And
and would start to resent him for that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, so do Cliff and Hackett both make it to the end of the year with their job? Like,
Yes.
do they make it to the offseason at least?
Kingsbury for sure.
I think
I think they both do too. Dude, does either one of them get canned this offseason?
Cliff has a better shot.
Yeah, they'll give Hackett a little bit more leniency, but if any of them get fired in the offseason, it'll be Kingsbury, even with the extension.
Extensions don't matter for coaches anymore. They don't.
I think they both, unless you're the Raiders and you're so broke you can't afford to fire your head coach.
They're about to clear some cap space in the offseason.
Okay. Well, Jared kind of Jared kind of brought it up in the last one, in the last topic. Let's get right into it. Is it Mike White season now, or was it just Mike White week? Like, what did the Jets do at quarterback? It's pretty clear to me, but I'm curious what you guys think.
You literally hand him the keys, put gas in the tank, and let him drive the rest of the way because it's over. The Zach Wilson experience is completely dead. Like, it's done. He got beat out by Mike White. In all honesty, Joe Flacco would have been a better option than Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's terrible, like really bad, and it's to a point where in the current NFL, if you're passing the way this guy's been passing the last couple weeks that he was a starting quarterback, I don't see him. I don't think he plays another snap for the Jets, man. I really don't. I think they're gonna ride out Mike White this year and then look in free agency especially if they make the playoffs. If they somehow make a push in the playoffs, it's definitely Zach Wilson's done. 100%.
Yeah, I'm trying not to overreact too much because the Bears.
It's not overreaction.
No, I'm just only because Mike White did do this against the Bears, whose defense has arguably been the worst defense in football for the last 5 or 6 weeks.
The argument to that is Zach Wilson wouldn't have been able to do that against the Bears.
And the thing is, we won't ever know because Zach Wilson didn't play in this game against the Bears. I do think even with Zach Wilson,
Man, he's
that,
played some
that
tough defenses the last few
he
weeks too.
has. He's also looked completely terrible. Like
He
not even
doesn't.
like NFL caliber against those defenses.
Yes,
But
that's
um,
it in a nutshell, man. Like
but the
he's
thing
not.
is, he hasn't played a defense as bad as the Bears because they're over the last 5 or 6 weeks, there isn't one as bad as the Bears. So, like, even if Zach Wilson would have been under center for the Jets this week, I still think the offense would have looked better. Now, I'm I agree with Jared in the sense of that I think Mike White should still be the starter, and I think that this offense moves better with Mike White under center, and I think this offense looked better Sunday with Mike White than it would have with Zach Wilson. I'm just saying I still think the offense would have had more success than it has in the last few weeks, even if Zach Wilson would have played this game because of how bad the Bears defense is. Uh, but I don't know. I've never. It's easy for me to say that though because I've never been a big Zach Wilson fan. I had him and Mac Jones, you know, comfortably below Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields in that quarterback class. Um, and so I've never been the biggest Zach Wilson fan. And then seeing the press conference, and it was a very simple question, simple answer, wasn't a huge thing. But seeing the press conference, them asking him if he thought that he let the defense down, and he was just like, "No." It's like I mean, the offense did absolutely nothing. The defense played their asses off. The offense is why you lost the game. You would like to see a quarterback take ownership of that to at least a little bit of an extent, especially whenever you see like in the same exact division, you see Josh Allen, the offense will put up like 20 something points and they'll lose. And Josh Allen did objectively have a bad game, and he'll come out and immediately, it's tough to win games in this league whenever your quarterback plays like shit, and takes ownership of it. And so
Yeah,
it's like, and granted that's the intangibles are just a piece of it, but it's like I can't remember who it was. I wish I could give him credit. I can't remember who it was that said it. It might have even been Dan Orlovsky, and it wouldn't surprise me because he says a lot of stuff that I agree with. But
It was Dan.
he
I know what you're talking
he said something along the lines of like quarterbacks already are fighting an uphill battle in terms of like trying to prove that they're not better than the rest of their teammates and that they shouldn't be treated differently and things like that. And quarterbacks that do go out of their way to throw themselves, in front of the bullet. And it's whenever everything's going wrong, it's my fault. I need to be better. And then whenever things are going well, give credit to the rest of the team. The rest of the team did this. That's why we're succeeding. And with Zach Wilson, it was just like, yeah, we suck, but I didn't let my defense down, even though I didn't do anything to help us win today. And so it's easy for me to write Zach Wilson off because I haven't been the biggest fan in the first place. And then seeing that press conference, I was like, man, he looks like a spoiled rich white kid or something. Like, and it's
this
easy
isn't
to
a
crack
this
that
isn't a
joke on
deep.
him because he does look like a 17-year-old rich
I don't
white
have any
kid.
stats in front of me. I don't have nothing in front of me, but I can tell you, watching him play football the last 3 weeks that he was under center
It's been
and
awful.
having a defense as good as what the Jets defense is, it's not fair to
Yeah.
those guys who roll
about.
him
Okay,
out.
so those last 3 weeks, do you remember who they played?
It doesn't make a difference, man.
It doesn't make a difference.
It does. What
Who
he
did they
was
play?
doing out there. I know
Tell
they
me who they
played.
played.
They played. Hold on, I'll have to pull up their schedule. I can't
No,
remember.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. You ain't got to look it up.
Go ahead.
New England,
New
Okay.
England twice in Buffalo.
Buffalo, New England.
All right.
Okay,
That's
so
fine. So, are you saying
in the,
right now
in
you
the
would
Buffalo
play
game,
Zach Wilson over Mike
how
White?
bad was he in the Buffalo game?
He wasn't great.
Was he not?
No.
18 or 25. Really good completion percentage, over 250 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions.
He had 154 yards and a touchdown with no interceptions.
Oh, that's the
He was not. He completed 18 passes, but he was not the reason why.
No, I mean, and then you have 2 games against Bill Belichick, who is routinely making multiple.
He had one good game against New England this year, and that's it. That's pretty much the one good game he's had.
I think the Buffalo game he played good in, and then obviously the bad game against New England there, the 9 for 22 for 77 yards, didn't turn the ball over, but that's not going to get it done.
So you would start Zach Wilson over Mike White then?
I wouldn't have benched him. No, I wouldn't have benched him.
You wouldn't have benched him.
No, man. Look, man. See, here's the thing. Here's the problem though with that. So here's the problem with box score scouting, and like I hate box score scouting.
No, it would be one. Okay, so Aaron Rodgers right now being benched would not be a big deal because they're out of a playoff hunt.
You're the one that just turned us to the box scores.
Yeah, but that's the point I'm making. Is so when you go back and you look at the opponents, but then you go back and watch the film. Watch the film of what New England did to the Jets.
I've watched a lot.
I don't want to watch a single moment of Zach Wilson ever again.
I've watched more Zach Wilson than I've watched more Zach Wilson than I would care to admit. And
right,
he doesn't look.
Did you watch the film of New England games?
I don't want to watch the film.
Why do I need to go back and watch?
How can you make an accurate assessment without watching the film?
Because I watched the game live.
You watched every single game live.
Not every second. God, no. I'm not putting myself through that. There's much better teams out there to watch.
Landon, you don't have to watch every single snap of every single game somebody plays to know if they're good enough or not.
I can tell you that he doesn't have the team behind him whatsoever.
I don't know about none of that. I'm just saying in terms of.
Did you see it?
Ability.
Like
New England absolutely annihilated their wide receivers in that second game.
Those wide receivers were giddy.
They played the Bears
in the rain.
They played the Bears. New England locked those dudes up bad. All I'm saying is, if you go back
one of the two times
film of the game, there were not a lot of open guys in that game. There were not. He had nobody to throw to. And I'm like, sometimes it's like, I know I'm like the quarterback apologist. I get that. But sometimes it's not always on one guy. It's never on one guy.
But there's no on that Jets team right now. There's nobody that was more to blame than Zach Wilson. Like, who are you going to blame on the defense more than Zach Wilson?
Who am I going to blame on
anybody?
As far as like the problem,
for that matter, either.
Yeah, as far as the problem with the Jets go,
they're winning football games
because of the defense.
That's the only reason they're winning football games.
And then whenever they lose football games, it's because their offense did not do enough. The wide receiver, the playmakers aren't the problem. Like Garrett Wilson,
they were in that second New England game. Look, sometimes defensive guys get paid too, right? Like sometimes there's just nobody open. Like it happens. There's games like that. And outside of that game, though, he was playing like. I'm not gonna say he's perfect. Like that's the disconnect. It's like you think I'm gonna, you think I'm gonna sit here and just tell you like, oh yeah, like he's great. He's a great quarterback. He wasn't. He's got plenty of stuff to do, dude. He's played like how many games is this? 20 games. I mean,
I haven't seen anything that showed me that he's anything more than an average NFL quarterback. His ceiling feels like average NFL quarterback.
There is no way in hell I would put him back in right now over any quarterback that's on that roster. I wouldn't put him in over Flacco. I wouldn't put him in over Mike White. I wouldn't put him in over.
I don't think it's
in the third row. Like he's not like if they have any.
I think it was a very rushed reaction to the public's perception of what that press conference was.
Landon, he didn't even dress for the game.
Yeah,
that's the underlining thing right there too. It wasn't like he got benched. He didn't even dress for the game. They're not rolling him back out there. If Mike White win, lose, or draw, Zach Wilson would not be the quarterback the next week. This season, at least.
I mean, I'm not gonna say like if Mike White goes out there and lays an egg for 3 straight games, then yeah, they're probably gonna throw.
They'll go back to Zach Wilson. Yeah, I don't think it's guaranteed that Mike White has the job the rest of the year, but I do think that you have to. Bears,
which he played really good football.
He played really good. You have to put the ball back in his hands at least. Like this is a week-to-week thing at this point.
It's always a week-to-week. The NFL's a week-to-week league.
Well, for some players, not for all players.
Well, I mean, like Tom Brady. Like, you know,
like the
like, yeah, I
established
mean,
guys.
like, you're not,
But
yeah, like established guys like that. But I
but
mean, like
yeah,
sometimes guys take time. Like that's all I'm saying is like, and real like the tape was not that bad. Like it really wasn't.
yeah,
And
to me, we just disagree on that one because
that's
I
fine. I
haven't went
mean,
back
we
and
can
watched all
disagree.
22 like or anything. Like I haven't sit there and watched every single snap, but I've watched a lot more Zach Wilson Jet snaps this year than I would care to admit. And I've seen enough with my eyes to believe that I do not think he is a
That's fine.
above average NFL
I'm not
quarterback.
saying I'm right or not. I'm not. I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I mean, it's just like I think solely putting the blame on one person
It's
for
not all on him by any
for
means.
like a
Like
team for a team performance like what the Jets had against New England in that game, the game that got him benched or whatever. Like like there's multiple facets that need to fail for a disaster like that.
there's no
Outside of
doubt that the offensive line is hurting without Elijah Vera Tucker, and then the run game's going to hurt without Brees Hall, and Michael
and,
Carter's hurt
and look,
now, and James Robinson is. I don't
Bill
know why they're
Belichick's
trading him,
really
but
fucking good.
yeah, but I mean,
The New England defense is really fucking good.
yeah, but they're not unbeatable though. Like good
Well,
offenses
nobody's
have
unbeatable.
been able to beat them this year, and
Well, I mean, like, what do
I
you
just
mean unbeatable?
All I can tell you is Zach Wilson makes me sleep harder than Odell Beckham on a plane. I get deeper sleep than Odell.
apparently he was doing no sleeping on the plane.
Apparently, he was sleeping too hard.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I personally, I hope they don't play Zach Wilson the rest of the year, but if they do and they want to miss the playoffs, then that's fine. But I think right now you roll out Mike White. You have to after that performance.
I mean, they've got like the schedule to finish out the year is definitely Mike White's favor. They've got Minnesota, which is another beatable defense, but then they do have Buffalo. But then they got Detroit, Jacksonville, Minnesota again. And they've got Seattle, in which Seattle's been a tougher defense than expected coming into the year. But so there's a couple tough matchups in there, but overall the Jets matchups, at least in terms of the quarterback position, are favorable. So Mike White could have a strong finish to the year. If Mike White doesn't perform, you can't really say it was because the matchups were too tough at that point. So they should be able to get a pretty good idea of where they're at the quarterback position over the next few weeks going into the playoffs. Because I mean, I think there's a really good chance this is going to be a playoff team, and so
they're a playoff defense.
They're a playoff team right now too, right? Like as we stand right now, they're in the playoff picture.
Yep. I think
right.
they're a wild card team for sure.
Yeah, there's quite a couple wild card teams right now out of that AFC East.
Buffalo is a wild card team as well.
Yeah, sticking with the AFC and quarterbacks, Mr. Generational, Trevor Lawrence. Is he generational after all? That
my mascot was generational.
Baltimore. The mascot is definitely generational. I know
Is he wearing the American flag G-string?
I don't know what he had on, but
that's incredible.
I saw a tweet that said "Welcome to Hell, Baltimore," and it was Jacksonville scoring a touchdown, and like it was an end zone view, and then their mascot was in the background just humping air in his thong bikini, and I was like, yeah, that does look like hell. Like I can't imagine being a visiting player getting
definitely in Florida.
Jacksonville. Yeah, that was very Florida. But look, I'll say this, man. It might not be right to look at it this way, but I've 100% been treating this season as Trevor Lawrence's rookie season. I don't give a shit what happened last year.
Oh, I agree.
Urban Meyer, gave Jacksonville nothing close to what would resemble an NFL, a professional team. That was not a professional season that those guys had to play last year. And I've loved what I've seen in terms of Trevor Lawrence's growth through the season. Now, maybe he's not generational, like so many had dubbed him as going through the draft process, whatever that term even means. But I think
that 2-point conversion was on the money.
That was the tits too. The fact that they went for that and just like fuck it, we're gonna go win this game. I loved that. I absolutely loved
Happened
like just
twice.
the confidence that had to give Lawrence. Like not even the fact that
Oh
they
yeah,
just went for two, but that they put the ball back in his hands and was
Your
like, "Here,
brain is
go win us,
Staley out there
go
too.
win us the game." Like I love that, man. I love it. Trevor Lawrence looks great. And
Zay
even
Jones
like
balled out.
yeah, it was like he's throwing to secondary options like Zay Jones and guys and having them ball out. Like it's not like he's only feeding Christian Kirk. Like I mean uh, he's taking what the defense gives him and he's looking better and better every single week. Every time I turn on the Jaguars game, again, I've watched a lot of Jags games just because of my love for Travis Etienne. It forces me to turn the games on, but what I end up drawing myself to is how well Trevor Lawrence has been playing, and it hasn't been all roses. He's definitely still, had some bumps along the way, but I, for one, have been really impressed with Trevor Lawrence and with Doug Peterson and what he's done for that team, which I think is something that we all kind of saw coming. That was one of the things that we were all really excited about was what Doug Peterson was going to do for Trevor Lawrence. So
Yeah,
that was one of the big things for me. So just kind of curious what your guys' thought was on Lawrence and his development and where he is now compared to where he was, at the end of his rookie season, if you even want to call it that.
oh, it's night and day. I mean, his his velocity getting the ball off is a lot better too. I think he reacts to pressure a lot better than what he did all of last year. That 2-point conversion was right on the money. Like it was, I mean, right there. And then the touchdown before back to Marvin Jones was really nice. Yeah, man, he's just getting better week by week. We're in year 2. So
I mean, yeah, good player. I hate the word generational.
generational.
I
Generational talent.
can't stand that word.
I think he has potential though to get to elite status. Like
Yeah.
I do. I think he's definitely got that. Like especially if they're able to keep those guys together, that receiving core. He's got weapons, man. Like he's got tons of weapons. As a Colts fan, I'm sure you would love to have the luxuries that Trevor Lawrence has, like receiving core and everything behind him. Keep them together, man. I think the defense can improve. They can obviously load up on another like high end.
Yeah, I think they need another top. They draft a top receiver this year in the draft.
Yep.
Yeah, though. I mean, good player, really good. Great potential. Love Doug Peterson. Love whatever everything he's done there, and I expect him to continue to improve. He's a good player, so I just don't like the term generational. But outside of that, yeah, I love Trevor. I'm excited for him. I said it at the beginning of the season. I think we did a show on it, and I kind of touched on it a little bit. That it's something that I was really excited for him to actually now have a chance to experience what a professional atmosphere must actually look like. So hopefully Jacksonville will continue to build around him. He's able to improve. But yeah, he makes.
I have to say too, man. Everybody dunks on the Jaguars, but at least they're putting equity into their quarterback and their number 1 overall pick. Like they went out and got a legit head coach this season because of the disaster that happened last year. They've loaded him up with weapons. Their record's not that great, but they're going to get another first-round pick. I bet they go offense, most likely, if that's the case. They're trying to – where some teams literally they're doing the opposite of what is good for their first-round draft pick quarterback. They're going for, defensive tackles and things like that. Like, to me, like, they're saying, hey, Lawrence, this is your team. Take us as far as you can take us. Like, and I think they're going to get there, man. I think eventually Tennessee is going to fall off at some point. The Colts right now, I don't know what to make of them. I think they're
until they get a quarterback, they don't matter.
Yeah, they need a quarterback and they need some more weapons on offense as well. 2 years down the road, I think Jacksonville is the best team in that division. Houston
could be. I mean, Houston. Yeah, I mean, really depends on Bryce Young.
Oh, speaking of Houston, It's time for us to talk about it, man.
Damn.
Deshaun Watson is finally going to make his return, as if the NFL could not have. I'm 100%, and I'm 150% sure that the final decision on how long are we going to suspend Deshaun Watson came down to, well, if we suspend him for this many games, his first game back is going to be against the Houston Texans in
Yeah, it
Houston.
was rigged.
I
Yeah.
fully believe like that. I like all the terrible things that went into Deshaun Watson being suspended and how many games he should be suspended. I have no doubt with how shitty the NFL is that they were like, hey, if we suspend him for this many games, guess which game's going to be his first game back? And
Yeah.
but nevertheless, now here we are. Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns, fresh off a pretty impressive win over Tampa, in my opinion. Um,
Yeah.
now they might not be out of the picture completely either, and they're going to be playing Houston, which is a very beatable team without Deshaun Watson. But also, how long has it been since we've seen Deshaun Watson on the field? Are we sure he's going to step on the field and be the same Deshaun Watson he was prior to all these allegations and everything mentally he's had to go through, and just not being on an NFL field and in game time, getting those game reps? Like, there's a lot of factors here to where it's not just clear cut. It's not like DeAndre Hopkins coming back after his 6-game suspension earlier this year and just taking off like nothing happened. It's a little bit different.
And I will tell you this too. The Texans fans have not had a whole lot to scream and yell about this season.
Oh, they're about to get fired up this weekend.
That game is going to get rowdy.
The funniest thing to me is
it's going to be like the Seahawks and Broncos game week 1.
Yeah, you're absolutely.
What's funny is like I think 10 of the girls that accused him have a suite to the game. They're going to be.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, I'm dead serious.
Wow.
10 of the accusers, they got together and they have a suite at the game.
Well, the game's in Houston, right?
It is in Houston.
At least they're giving Houston their money instead of Cleveland. That would have been like, imagine how bad it would have been if they would have been giving their money to the Browns.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it all goes in the NFL pocket, so I don't guess it really matters. But so I like football wise though, I know it's difficult, especially with this situation, to separate, the shitty shit from football. But football wise, I mean, you guys expect Watson to just step on the field and not skip a beat, and the Browns offense now to be like, they've got the running game, they got the O-line, the weapons aren't bad with Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Njoku. Like the weapons aren't.
Let that Njoku catch this weekend.
Oh,
sick.
That dude's
nasty.
He's good, man.
That was smart to lock him up whenever they did.
Amari Cooper's had a hell of a year under the radar too. Like a lot of these guys that we wrote off at the beginning of the year, Amari Cooper, Josh Jacobs, all these dusted players that everyone talked about.
Even Nick Chubb, we were all lower on than we should have been.
Yeah, I mean, Jacoby Brissett, their record's not great. He held together.
Defense is really stepping it up the past few weeks. Like, they're starting to show why over the past 2 years now.
Not good. The defense isn't that good.
Well, it's looked better though the last couple weeks.
Yeah,
like bigger picture overall, the entire season they haven't been good.
No, the entire season is not. It's been under
the past couple weeks. The defense has started to get it together a little bit. I mean, like, granted, pretty much anything was going to be an improvement over what they were at the beginning of the season. But
I will tell you too, man. There's enough games left to where if Deshaun Watson is the answer, they have a chance, to make the playoffs still. Because Baltimore is concerning right now too, because their defense is atrocious. All of a sudden, they can't do anything on defense.
The offense even is questionable. I mean,
yeah, it's not putting up points like it should.
We've been a show that has been quick to give Lamar his credit, which he has very much so deserved. And granted, he's also dealing with injuries to his pass catchers, but Lamar hasn't looked as good the last few weeks. Now he's still doing, everything for that offense right now. And he does have guys dropping passes. Like, the offense would have looked better if Mark Andrews would have held on to one pass in particular, and then there was a couple other drops. And whenever your primary target outside of Mark Andrews is guys like Devin Duvernay and Demarcus Robinson, it's tough to really be too hard on the quarterback. but no, I'm with you. I mean, the defense looked beatable. The offense hasn't looked as good. And then these AFC East teams, they're going to beat up like the Dolphins, the Bills, the Jets, or not the Giants. Sorry, these teams are going to beat up on each other too.
I
As the
tell
year
you,
goes on, they've got games against each other left. So
there's a team that's really dangerous right now, and they're missing their star wide receiver, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals.
and they're getting him back this week.
The Bengals, I mean,
They
like
get Jamar Chase back this week, supposedly.
Tennessee is not an easy out, man. The way that team, like they're tough. That's a tough team to beat, and Cincinnati they got them. So that division, I had the Ravens winning that division. I don't feel very confident about it at all.
No,
and it's going to take a lot for Cleveland to get in. Deshaun Watson's as good as what they think he is, and they have a shot, but it's going to take a lot of things bounce their way for them to get into the playoffs at this point.
Landon, I know you've been very anti Browns this year. Any football related takes you want to drop on this before we get into that? It's actually the Bengals game is one of the games we're going to get into in terms of Week 13. So that Joe Burrow is a nice transition, but I want to give Landon, a chance here before we move on.
He looked bad in the preseason. Hope it continues.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys where it's really easy to root for them, and this is one of those guys where it's the opposite.
I won't go as far as to say I hope he gets injured, because I don't wish anything like that upon anybody. He's about as close as I've ever gotten to that.
Yeah, it's hard to root for him, that's for sure. But I'd still rather watch him than Zach Wilson. So that's what I'm currently at right now. With my take on
serious assaulter than a guy who played Bill Belichick's defense. That is a fake right there.
All right, so let's
I agree with it.
Let's rapid fire some Week 13 matchups.
I hope he loses in tremendous fashion.
I hope he does too. I think it'd be great for the Texans fans. Like
I'm such a big fan of Jerry Hughes this week. Like I really, really hope he gets well acquainted with Jerry Hughes. A lot.
I mean, outside of the allegations too, that organization is not too fond of the guy because of everything in the off season. So it's interesting.
By all accounts, he is a massive piece of shit, and I really hope he fails. That's all I'm gonna say.
So,
Rex Burke had 2 touchdowns this week.
Probably. Let's rapid fire some of the more exciting Week 13 games and see what we got for those. So, speaking of Joe Burrow and those Cincinnati Bengals, fresh off of a win against the Tennessee Titans, now they get to go up against the current number.
The Titans had to play a team 500.
So they went from getting to play the Titans. Now we've got the number 1 seed in the AFC versus the number 6 seed in the AFC currently. So, in a matchup against teams that met each other in the playoffs last year. So this one's a lot of fun to me, man. One that I can't wait for, and it features what I think is right now one of the easiest MVP picks in a while, because I think Patrick Mahomes pretty much has that thing locked up right now. If we had to stop the vote after Week 12. I think it's pretty easy to hand that thing to Mahomes with what he's done with this offense through the first 12 weeks. But so Chiefs and Bengals, battle of AFC powerhouses, dare I say. What do you guys think in terms of this matchup? What are we looking at?
I think this is possibly the AFC Championship matchup. Again. I really do.
In that direction.
I think there's some concerns I have with some other teams that are Like I feel like people are higher on than the Bengals, but I think the Bengals are a pretty complete team if they get healthy.
Offensive line's playing good right now.
Yep, they're starting to click. They get Mixon and Chase back at the right time. I think this is going to be a tough out for anybody in the playoffs, but the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. It's not even close. They can't run the ball for nothing.
Oh, there's that word, Drew.
I hate
They
that
can't
for-
run.
I hate that shit more than generational.
What? Not even close?
It's not even.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I hate whenever people put that at the end of a statement.
It's not
Yes,
even
bro.
close. No,
We just watched Miami.
they can't run the ball, but they don't have to. And
No, they don't.
that's the thing about the thing they have more than anything else is, of course, they have Patrick Mahomes, but Andy Reid, man, like they're gonna figure out ways to get these guys involved in the offense, no matter who it is, and they're gonna make people's lives hell, like trying to keep up pace with scoring. Cincinnati
And
can do
even
it.
though they don't have to run the ball, the last couple of weeks now that they've given Isaiah Pacheco a bigger role, their ground game has looked better than
It
it
looks
has all
better.
year.
It does look better.
And then they brought in Melvin Gordon. Like, they're going to give he might not get much work this week, but as the year goes on, they're going to give him work. And Melvin
playoff
Gordon,
push.
Isaiah Pacheco with Jarrett McKinnon. Jarrett McKinnon's been awesome in the role that he has for that offense. But in terms of the third down back and things like that, McKinnon has been awesome in that role. Like he has been such an underrated piece of that offense. Like, he hasn't been amazing for fantasy, anything like that, but in terms of moving the chains and giving Mahomes another option, and just I think it gets lost sometimes how great Jarrett McKinnon's career trajectory was looking whenever he got that big contract from Kyle Shanahan to be the 49ers lead back. Like, we forget how good McKinnon was prior to all the injuries, which was even a problem before he got that contract. But like, Jarrett McKinnon is a really good running back, and he's played a big role for that offense. It's just been kind of unspoken for most of the year, I feel like. But like they've got all the pieces on offense, and they've got the two most important parts, which you already said. They've got the head coach and they've got the quarterback, and the defense is just getting better and getting healthier. And the rookies that were going to play big pieces, they had a corner and an edge rusher, George Kalafdis, and it's the corner out of Washington. I'm going blank. What's his name? I can't believe I just blanked on that. The rookie corner out of Washington that they took. Huh?
Benjamin St. Juice?
No. There's a corner.
Fuller?
The Chiefs have a corner out of Washington. Trent McDuffie.
Oh,
Trent
Washington.
McDuffie.
I was thinking Commanders.
It was Trent McDuffie.
Yes. Okay.
So
you said Washington. I immediately went to Washington's cornerbacks.
No. The college Washington. But so they've got rookies that have also been injured that are getting more acclimated. Like this team is just here. They are all over again, man. I mean, I even discounted them a little bit to start the year. I picked the Chargers to win this division. I had the Chiefs as a wild card team. I did not think that with the losses that they had, like the pieces they had that they lost on defense and losing Tyreek, I did not think that this team would be this good all over again. And Mahomes, I keep thinking, like, there's no way I'll be able to be more impressed by Patrick Mahomes. And then every week, every year, he keeps raising the bar. And so, can't say enough good things about him and about Andy Reid. And yeah, it's just, the Chiefs are what every team hopes that they can find, and they are making the most of it right now. But on the other side, though, like the Bengals are no slouch themselves, which is why it's so easy to get excited about this game.
Yeah, I think the Bengals defense is starting to kind of click a little bit more too. Like I feel like that's the other point. To me, I kind of feel like right now this is the AFC Championship for this year as well, where I'm kind of leaning. The thing about Mahomes and Burrow is they know how to win big games, and that's what kind of separates.
Yeah, both of them do.
And I'm not taking digs at Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen's a great player, but he's not quite won that game yet. And
Oh, are we quarterback wins? Are we doing quarterback wins?
I'm just saying.
Oh,
I'm just saying. I don't think he's
Yeah.
not won that yet.
You've never won that game until you win that game, though, and
Right.
eventually you got to win that
Right.
game. And this
Yeah.
could be the year that
He
Josh Allen
definitely
wins
did not win
game.
that game with 17 seconds left. That Josh Allen.
But on this game though,
he didn't win that game.
Yeah.
But
what are you gonna do? Leave the field.
Game though,
leave the field with a lead with 17 seconds left. Damn it, Josh Allen.
Chiefs and it's all Joe Biden's fault. Chiefs and Bengals.
Mahomes won that game, then, right?
Who you guys got?
I got the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'll take the Chiefs as well.
I am too. But the reason I didn't want to miss this transition is because Jared was just talking. We were talking about another team in the AFC that is trying to challenge the Chiefs for one of the best teams in the AFC, and they're playing one of the teams that are rising in the NFC. We've got the Dolphins and the 49ers, two teams that should be pretty familiar with themselves, considering the head coaches, and where the Miami Dolphins head coach came from. These two teams should be pretty familiar with each other. I'm with you. This might be the most exciting game of the week.
I just want that offense versus the 49ers defense.
Fantasy booking,
I can have defense.
Fantasy booking, I just said that, Cincinnati, Kansas City is kind of where I'm leaning towards the AFC Championship game. But if I had it my way, it would be Kansas City against Miami and Arrowhead. That would be that's the game I want for the AFC Championship.
That would be a lot of fun.
To see those offenses just go out there and just work. Shred. Tyreek back in Arrowhead, that would be amazing. But, God, the 49ers, man, they look good. Their defense is looking good.
Yeah, I mean, this is the number 2 seed in the AFC versus the number 3 seed in the NFC right now. So, this is the Seahawks are right on the Niners' heels. The Bills are right on the Dolphins' heels. Like, both of these teams need to keep winning.
Yeah.
And the 49ers defense, especially in the second half, like the defense in the second half has been lights out, unreal.
Shutout last week.
Yeah, I don't believe in Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't give a shit what he did in his last game. I'm not a Jimmy G believer. You're never going to turn me into one. I think this team's ceiling is capped because of Jimmy Garoppolo. But there's literally nothing else that I dislike about this team. The defense is solid. The playmakers are unreal across the board. Even with Elijah Mitchell hurt, the playmakers are still unreal at receiver, tight end, at running back. The offensive line is solid. Everything is in place for the 49ers other than Jimmy Garoppolo. And if all you need him to do is manage a game, then you're probably okay. The second you need him to go win you a game, ain't going to happen. And you're not going to convince me otherwise, and he's never done anything to show me otherwise. Every big game they needed him to go win the game. Spoiler alert, the Niners didn't win that game. But if they just needed him to manage the game to the end, he's done that. Tell me I'm wrong then. Whenever they put the ball in his hands in the Super Bowl to go win the game, what do he do against Kansas City? Whenever they put the ball in his hands to go win the game against the Rams in the NFC Championship game, what do you do? Go show me a big game where they put the ball in his hands and said, go win us a game. The thing that quarterbacks that can take you over the edge, quarterbacks that can win the big game. Like, I'm not just talking about pure quarterback wins, what his stats are, because if you want to talk about quarterback wins, the 49ers are 10-2 whenever he doesn't throw for a touchdown. So, and he gets wins for all those. So if you want to talk about quarterback wins, yeah, he's got some good wins. But tell me I'm wrong with him winning them a game,
I got a question for you. Would you rather have Jimmy G or Bryce Perkins as your quarterback right now?
Oh, Jimmy G. I'm not gonna disrespect him too much. I love Bryce Perkins and he's doing everything he can, but Jimmy G is a better NFL quarterback than Bryce Perkins. But the fact that you have to ask me that question is just another point in my column.
He asked you that question, the troll.
No. Well, tell me on what I just laid out then. Tell me where I'm wrong.
I don't think you are. I think
Yeah, I'm not saying like he's a world beater, but I also
no. I will say one thing, man. Like there is
part of the reason why they get there too.
But you
there
don't.
are certain
You're
players that
any team with winning aspirations. Their goal is, man, I hope we get there.
he manages the game so. He does just enough to get them victories. He doesn't he puts them in positions
Until it matters.
Which is more than most other quarterbacks in football do.
He's right. Like
if it was good enough, his own team wouldn't have traded like 3 years worth of picks to move up to draft a quarterback. If it was enough.
What's that
I will say this. I don't think the 49ers
where did that lead you?
That injury wouldn't have happened.
It's just like Jared Goff got the Rams there. They were there. They made it to the Super Bowl. And then they went and traded him plus more draft picks because he wasn't enough. Jimmy G is not enough.
Yeah, well, I mean,
this 49ers team is really good.
Oh, so you mean like if we put Jimmy Garoppolo on a shittier team with shittier weapons, he's going to look worse?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's crazy. Who would have thought?
But if you put other quarterbacks in this league that aren't looking as good on the 49ers, they would be looking much better than what Jimmy G is looking like.
Like who?
Any quarterback
Zach
on this
Wilson.
No, I'm not talking about Zach Wilson. I'm talking about guys that we're talking about that are on struggling team. Go pull up any team that's out of the playoff picture right now. I'll give you a handful of quarterbacks. Like Aaron Rodgers, the Packers are out of the playoff picture right now. Flip-flop Jimmy G and Aaron Rodgers. The 49ers are
Jimmy Garoppolo versus one of the 5 greatest quarterbacks that ever played football.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's a lot.
Justin Fields. And the Bears in 3 or 9 right now. Put Justin Fields on the 49ers.
Probably don't win as many games as they have this year. But for the future, it's probably a better.
I agree with Landon on that actually too.
I don't.
I do. I think there's certain things.
What has Jimmy Garoppolo done to win them these games?
He's not done anything
that Justin Fields couldn't have done.
What do you? What do you mean? Like
Fields? Okay. He
just had a game like a couple games ago. He just threw 4. He hasn't thrown an interception in 5 weeks. He doesn't turn the ball over. He gets them into the correct play pre-snap consistently. By the way,
he does or Shanahan does?
No, he does.
He does.
He does. He does.
Sources,
yes.
I'm guessing.
Yes. Shanahan. If you didn't know, Shanahan gives him 3 plays before the snap every game. It is his job to look at the defense and determine which play to put them in. Jimmy Garoppolo is the one that decides pre-snap what play they go in. He consistently diagnoses the defense correctly, gets them into the correct looks, gets pass protection set up correctly, and delivers a very catchable ball that allows for yards after catch to multiple ones of his weapons.
They live off yak. They live off
They
yak.
absolutely do. Part of the reason why they live off of yak is because
what competent quarterback can't do that? What competent quarterback can't do that?
Oh, there's a lot of competent
quarterbacks in the NFL anymore.
Not competent, no. There's not a competent quarterback.
There's a lot of really competent quarterbacks that don't understand the aspect of.
Then they're not competent quarterbacks.
They are. They can still do fantastic things. So is Trey Lance not a competent quarterback?
We don't know.
We've seen 3 weeks of Trey Lance being started, one of which was in. Yes, he is.
He doesn't do those things. And I love Justin Fields. He does not routinely place the ball in spots for yak. Jimmy Garoppolo, outside of like maybe Brady and Aaron Rodgers, is one of the best quarterbacks in football when it comes.
He's a check down quarterback.
When it comes to putting the ball in correct like in the correct spot for yak opportunities.
And that's what that team lives off of.
That is
absolutely does. That's why they're effective with him under center and why they
in terms of skills every other can have. That's one of the easiest ones for quarterbacks to do.
I don't think it's easy at all.
Compared to some of the other stuff that you just have to rely on pure skill to do, you don't think that that's more difficult than
I think he does it
putting the ball in your playmaker's hands.
Level.
Yeah,
elite level.
5-6 yards and less, he's elite.
What's his yards per attempt this year?
It can't be that high.
It can.
There's no way.
I mean, most weeks his total attempts aren't that high, so the yards per attempt isn't as difficult to have at an elevated level whenever you're not throwing the ball a whole shit ton.
Well, so he's running the offense efficiently. Then he's getting them into the correct looks.
Yes, he is. Yes. Just him. Yeah, just him.
He is.
Yeah, I know. It's just him. It's Jimmy Garoppolo against the world.
I'm not saying that. But I'm saying he has 3 plays that he gets pre-snap, and he looks at the defense and determines which play to run. I don't know what more. He gets them into the correct looks. I don't know what more you want from a guy.
He knows that.
Apparently, you want enough more from the guy to be able to go trade multiple first-round picks to go up and grab his replacement. Apparently, they needed more.
I'm not saying that you don't always you always want to find the game-changing Mahomes franchise quarterback. He's not that.
No, he's literally Alex Smith.
That's a very good. Well, I think he's a little bit better.
No, it's pretty.
But I think it's accurate. I think
better than Alex Smith.
I think.
No, I think Alex Smith's a better quarterback too. But I will say it's very good comparison. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
I think that's fair.
I know everybody loves Trey Lance, but we don't know. There's not enough on Trey Lance to know.
You're exactly right. We don't know.
Right. So I mean, Garoppolo knows that offense. It's a check down offense. They're run heavy and they play defense.
That's my only point. I don't get why people are so in such a rush to praise Jimmy G. Whenever he's every time they've asked him to go win him a game, he doesn't do it, and his own organization went out of their way to try to replace him.
Always on one guy to go out there and win a football game.
It's not always. Not always.
Okay, so then why are we giving the losses to one guy?
Because whenever it's his time to go in the playoff, whenever it mattered in the playoffs, the guy that the Rams went and traded multiple first-round picks for, who led a game-winning drive every game of the playoffs?
Who threw an interception straight to a 49ers player?
Did he? Did he though?
Did he? Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
I saw the guy.
Did the defender catch the ball?
No. Okay.
Did the defender catch the ball? So is that an interception?
Is that a negative play? Is that a good play by a quarterback?
Is it an interception?
Is it a good play by a quarterback?
You got to go to one coulda, woulda, shoulda to try to discredit somebody that led 3 straight game-winning drives to go win a Super Bowl.
I love
whenever
that.
Jimmy Garoppolo's had how many chances to win a game-winning drive and hadn't done it every single time. It'd be one thing if it's 0 for 1. The dude's 0 for fucking forever.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
The only argument
he is a mediocre quarterback that everybody wants to balloon up because the locker room likes him.
Did you ever think that maybe everybody else who is involved in football, that consistently his teammates and coaches and all these other players that do balloon him up might actually be correct, and maybe the fans might be wrong?
So the only people that aren't ballooning him up are fans. That's it. Everybody else in the world,
everybody in that organization and in that locker room, and multiple players in multiple locker rooms. Actually,
I'm sure he's a great guy.
He's beloved in New England. He's beloved.
Yeah, I'm sure he's a great guy.
He's a great He's a great leader.
This shit only gets you so far, man.
Well, it does. It's gotten him to multiple championship games. It's tough to win those. It is. It's tough, but it doesn't mean he sucks because he's one of thousands.
I said he's an average NFL quarterback, which in the grand scheme of things means that you're incredible at what you do because only the 0.1% of people can play quarterback in the NFL. So in the grand scheme of things, he is a great NFL. He's a great quarterback, but in terms of the people you are measured against, your peers, he is average, and he doesn't get treated as such.
I don't know. I feel like in some circles he is treated that way.
Nobody goes out of their way to say that he's better than Lamar or Mahomes or Herbert. Do you ever hear anybody saying any of that stuff? I mean,
I don't.
I don't.
I mean,
all I hear consistently is how much the dude fucking sucks. And all he does is go out every week and perform and play winning football. And
Not every week.
People hate it. People hate the fact that he wins.
How can you say he goes out and plays winning football and performs?
Because he does. Does he turn the ball over?
How can he does that every week?
What? You broke up. You like cut out a little bit. What did you say?
How can you say he?
Is he cutting out for you, Jared, or is it just me?
Yeah, I think Jimmy G broke him. He's back. Maybe.
Maybe he's frozen.
There we go. Okay.
I
think we're good.
Yeah,
there?
Jimmy G broke my internet. I'm good.
That's what Jared said. Jared said Jimmy G broke. Jimmy G's on the other end of the modem, just like pressing buttons.
Is he the long-term answer? No.
Probably.
Is he their best option to win? Yes. Like,
yeah,
of
course he's the best option they got right now. Yeah.
I think this season
he
would probably be the better option.
Who?
But Garoppolo, I think he was the best option this year. There's a reason why.
I actually do. Like, and it's known like.
Why did no team in the NFL try to trade for him the entire offseason?
He's the best option for the 49ers to win.
Well, one, the 49ers asking price was incredible. And on top of that,
if all he does is put his team in positions to win football games, why wouldn't you want to pay for that?
How many other teams, in retrospect, probably should have made that move?
I think they got.
There's a lot of teams starting.
If I'm the Carolina Panthers, I'd much rather be on my way to a top pick and trying to get a quarterback than having Jimmy Garoppolo and being like one game above.
Well, that's
500.
an entirely different conversation.
Well, this is the conversation you just brought up. You just said how many teams would be better off. Carolina was one of the teams in that discussion that didn't make the deal.
The Colts would be better off with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Absolutely, they would be.
Yeah, the Colts would be. I agree. Yeah. You guys would probably be like a 7 seed and be on your way to a middle of the road pick and no championship.
Possibly.
Well, now we're a bottom feeder. That's going to make.
We'll never know. That's all hypothetical. All we can talk about is what the guy's actually done.
I would rather be a bottom feeder. So I mean, you think, okay, well, hypothetically, insert Jimmy G on the.
Colts. Is that all the measurement is then? So if you don't win a Super Bowl, you're a bad quarterback. Because that right now is the only argument that I see. Whenever it comes time to win the Super Bowl or win the championship, he doesn't show up.
That's not the only argument, no. But yeah, how you play in the playoffs in big moments is absolutely a big part of a player's legacy. Yeah, that I don't feel like that's a controversial statement, especially at the quarterback position.
No, I mean I'm not saying it does.
It's not 100%. Like
he's also in the upper echelon of guys. He's not.
I'm pretty sure too, and I could be wrong. Check me on this. You guys will know better than me, but I'm thinking. They made it to 2 straight NFC Championship games, correct?
And a Super Bowl.
And a Super Bowl.
I don't know how many straight NFC Championship games they made it to.
But I think it was 2 straight, and I believe they lost. They obviously lost both of those. The team they lost to won the Super Bowl. Is that correct?
Yes.
I know. Whenever the Rams beat them, that's what happened.
So I mean, they're close, and this team right now is the best offense that this team is. This offense they've put together is the best they've had out of any of those other teams.
And this is the best he's ever played because of the surrounding pieces.
What I'm saying, what I'm getting at for Drew's point is, he's gotten close, but he can't quite get them over the hump. This could be the over the hump, like with McCaffrey.
It takes a team.
The defense getting help.
Defense is great. Their offense is great.
The defense has always been great.
But the NFC's wide open, man. Outside of the Eagles, this is the 49ers are my Super Bowl favorite right now. Like they are, and it could easily bite. I mean, this is one of those teams that obviously they can choke in the moment because it's happened, but.
Well, I mean, any team.
I think they have enough firepower and they control the ball to where even like the Eagles, like, and I love the Eagles and I like the way they're built. I think they can beat the Eagles. I think they're the only team in the NFC when it comes down to it that can beat them in the playoffs.
Yeah,
And
especially if the
I
Eagles
don't
get
think,
their run defense figured out.
and Dallas is right there too. It's a 3-team race in the NFC.
Speaking of Dallas, they've got, Dolphins, 49ers. Who y'all got?
49ers.
Man, this is tough. I love both these. Oh, man, I love both these teams so much. Man, this is tough. I'm gonna take the 49ers.
I got the Dolphins.
And you could coin flip this on any other day, and I would have a different answer.
Speaking of the Cowboys, though, they got a couple divisional opponents that are meeting up for a game that could end up being pretty big, considering how involved the NFC East is with the NFC playoff pictures. So you got the Commanders, the Taylor Heineke led Washington Commanders against the New York Football Giants led by Daniel Jones. So another enticing quarterback matchup of guys that I would put in the same tier as Jimmy Garoppolo. But in all seriousness,
you want to talk about quarterback wins? Can we talk about that?
I can't see that. It's just a bunch of
Joe Montana 37-22, Steve Young 40-19, Jimmy Garoppolo 40-19.
Yeah, I would love to see their
better 49ers record than Joe Montana.
I would love to see their game-winning drives with the total number of those are.
Joe Cole's a different breed, man.
But the matchup is, I don't think the matchup is as exciting as the other few we've talked about, but it is big in terms of the playoff picture and in terms of the standings and things like that. So I wanted to put it in there because right now, in terms of the NFC right now, you've got the Giants as the 6th seed and the Commanders as the 7th seed, and then the Eagles are at 6. The Eagles are at 6-5. So essentially one game out behind both of these teams. So if Seattle wins, there's a decent chance that they leapfrog whoever loses in this game. So this is a big game for the playoff picture. So just quickly, Commanders, Giants, who you got? How do you see it playing out?
Man, there's a really bad storm outside my house right now.
It's outside mine too.
Okay, all right, okay, we're all on the same page then. Man.
Oh yeah. Yards per attempt.
I will say the Commanders' defense is starting to come around. They're getting healthy too. I like the Commanders.
I like the Giants more in this game.
I also like the Giants.
I don't.
Heineke has not played good football, and they've really escaped to some of their wins. That luck's going to run out.
The Commanders' defense has been really on a tear.
They've looked awesome. Daniel Jones has played really well up until this last week. He played pretty awful, but up until that, he was playing pretty good ball.
Yeah,
but I trust the Commanders' defense more than I do Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I think I trust Brian Daboll and Saquon Barkley more than I do the Commanders' offense. So I'm kind of looking at it from the same way you are, just on the different side of the ball, and I trust a different team a little bit more.
Yes,
I think it's going to be a really good game though, and it might not be an exciting fantasy game or anything like that, considering how the defenses are playing. But just for real NFL implications, this game has a lot of it. So, and then it's a division game as well. So, I think this will be an exciting game to watch, just knowing the real football implications that come with it. But box score wise and fantasy score wise, it might not be as exciting. But yeah. I'm taking the Giants. Jared, I know you said you got Commanders. Landon, you said Giants, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Giants in this one.
All right. Let's move on to Landon's favorite team, the Tennessee Titans, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Another big one. You got the number 1 seed in the NFC, and then the former number 1 seed in the AFC, but the number 3 seed this year. So you got the 3 seed in the AFC, the 1 seed in the NFC. And Philly's run defense is, I mean, they signed a couple D tackles, so hopefully things get better, without Jordan Davis, but certainly got a tall task ahead of them.
Believe he's eligible to return this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I thought this was only week 3 of him being on IR.
I think week 13 he's eligible to come back.
That would definitely be a big lift, along with the additions that they made at defensive tackle a couple weeks ago with Ndamukong Suh, and the other names escaping me, but nonetheless, I mean, it's hard to.
Else is week 8
with
eligible to return this week.
That would be huge for that defense, but I mean,
look awesome too.
With how good the Eagles' pass defense is,
Joseph and Spoon are playing well for him though.
It's with the Titans' passing offense being lackluster, and then the Eagles' pass defense with Darius Slade, James Bradbury, and company being as good as it is, it's tough to envision a world where the Titans' passing offense really gets going in this one. So, I think this is going to be one of those games where if they want to win it, Derrick Henry's going to have to take over and win this game for them. And I don't really see that happening. I think that the Eagles are going to remind everybody how good they are, because it has been a rough couple weeks, even with the win. The Eagles haven't looked as good as they looked early on in the year. I think this is a game with a playoff team from the opposite conference. I think that, the Eagles are going to remind everybody how good of a team they are this week, personally.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. And this is, unfortunately for the Tennessee Titans, not a team that's below 500, which they have found out last week what that's like. So, finally play a good team, catch an L. It's incredible how that happens.
I think they play them tough, though. I think
they definitely play tough. Tennessee's always going to play a team tough. But
it's a tough out.
Yeah. The Kansas City Chiefs are pretty tough, and, they were able to beat them earlier this year, right?
Well, so are the Colts. So
they didn't beat the Chiefs, did they? But they played them. They played them.
They did beat the Chiefs.
Colts did beat the Chiefs.
They did beat them. No, I know the Colts did. I'm talking about the Titans. Whenever the Titans play the Chiefs, did they beat the Chiefs?
I don't think they did.
I don't think they did either. But I think they played.
I don't think they have a single win over a team that's 500.
Well, you might not be wrong. I mean, they lost to Buffalo.
No,
they
lost to the Giants. They lost to Buffalo.
Washington's above 500, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they did beat the Commanders.
They might have won.
That's a testament to how bad that division.
Here are the teams that they have beaten this year. They have beat the Raiders, the Colts, the Texans, the Broncos, the Packers, and that's it.
It certainly helps to play in the AFC South.
Yeah, that division is really bad.
It really does.
We're gonna get to find out about the Titans, though. They got Philly this week.
This is gonna tell you a lot right here. Did you see, by the way, the offensive lineman?
Not only just Philly this week, but then they got the Chargers and Dallas as well before the end of the year. So they still play a couple tough teams. So we're gonna get to find out if Tennessee is actually good or not.
Yeah. Did you see the offensive lineman
from Cincinnati?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Fuck you, Tennessee. Fuck you.
Yeah, I don't know why he hates the Titans so much, but I like it though. It's fun.
I'm a big fan of that guy.
I'm assuming we're probably going to clean sweep the Eagles on this one.
Yeah, I'm probably going to take the Eagles in this one.
All right, so let's talk about it to a couple other playoff hopefuls. Then you got the Jets and the Vikings, so another AFC versus NFC, two playoff teams. We already talked about the Jets and Mike White quite a bit, but in terms of the Vikings bouncing back from that terrible Thanksgiving game against the Cowboys,
they got annihilated.
No, they beat the Patriots on Thanksgiving.
They beat the Patriots, right? So my bad. They bounced
the
back
week
from the
before
terrible
at
game.
Dallas.
Yeah, they bounced back from the terrible game against Dallas on Thanksgiving, where they handled New England. Now they get the Jets, so they're kind of making their AFC East tour here. So I mean, considering what the Patriots did to the Jets already this year, and then seeing what the Vikings did to the Patriots, if my football math is correct, that should mean that the Vikings should also beat the Jets. That's not how football math always works, but
I'm going to say you're probably correct though on that.
Per my flow charts, that's how this thing's supposed to go.
Yeah. This is like the fuck around and find out game for like.
Use the word right there. The fuck around. Minnesota's got a clear cut lead in that division, and
oh yeah, by a lot.
So this is a trap game. That's exactly what it is.
A trap game. Yeah.
And I'm
Maybe.
taking the Jets.
Unfortunately for Mike White, this is not the Chicago Bears.
I'm taking the Jets.
The Vikings secondary is somewhat beatable.
Beatable.
They've been playing a little bit better in the past couple weeks, but it's not Chicago Bears bad though, because it's very hard, if not.
Well, that defensive line is a little bit better too than the Bears.
Yeah. The pass rush is definitely better for Chicago.
I think you're gonna see Sauce Gardner get up in this game, man. I think
he's
gonna have to, man, because that's one of the most.
I think it's gonna be one of those like, hey, this guy's made it officially. Like
Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 1.
He should, I would imagine so.
I mean, I want to defend my boy Coop because he did just have like the greatest wide receiver season in NFL history just 1 year ago, But I mean, in terms of this year right now, like Cup's hurt the rest of the year. Justin Jefferson should be considered the best receiver in the league right now to me.
If Cooper Kupp's hurt, yes. I still think Cooper Kupp's the best wide receiver in football.
I think Kupp would at least have an argument if he was healthy, but like his timeline.
Devontae Adams pace, his numbers, what he's like.
Devontae Adams is like under the radar great this season.
Devontae Adams should still be in the conversation too. As I
pace for 1,500 yards and like 13 touchdowns.
Tyreek Hill. I think Tyreek Hill
should be in the conversation. Like
Tyreek Hill leads the NFL in yards, I'm pretty sure.
The wide receiver position is one of the most like the wide receiver position is so loaded with talent right now. Mm-hmm. And there's been such an influx in talent the last few years through the draft as well, on top of what was already there. Like the wide receiver position is loaded in talent. So
Tyreek Hill already has over 1,200 yards.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Yeah, there's a handful of guys that you could tell me you think is the best receiver in the NFL, and I wouldn't really have much of an argument for it. But I think Jefferson should be at the top of the list, though.
I'm excited,
and that makes me that much more excited for this matchup because y'all know how much I love Sauce, and I can't wait to see in his rookie year how he can stack up against Justin Jefferson. I don't know if
this is the ultimate test.
Yeah, I don't know if by far the best time, but like Jamar Chase is, Jamar Chase was the guy that I kind of looped in with Jefferson as like the two best young receivers in the league, and Sauce had a really good game against Chase earlier this year before Chase got hurt. So, I'm really excited for this one personally.
If he locks down Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson in the same year.
And there's other guys outside of that he's as well, and not just him. DJ Reed's been impressive. Like that, the Jets secondary in general has been much improved compared to last year. But I'm excited for that match. That's definitely the most intriguing thing for me about this matchup for sure. But overall, I think the Vikings, even though this could be a trap game, I think the Vikings end up taking it.
I'm going to take the Vikings.
I'm on the Jets.
All right. Last big matchup with playoff implications. Speaking of the Jets are going to be very interested in seeing how this game plays out. The Bills and the Patriots, man. This is a big
unless the winds are 150 miles per hour.
Got the Bills are the 5 seed, and then the Patriots are the 8 seed right now. They're right outside of the playoff picture. So you're talking about like if the Vikings, I don't know what the tiebreakers look like because I think that the Jets and the Patriots split this year. But like if the Vikings beat the Jets and the Patriots are able to upset the Bills, that puts the Patriots and the Jets with the same record. So, a lot of between the game we just discussed and this game here, there's a lot of big playoff implications just based off this one game.
That's crazy to think that division is so tight right now. Like that's the AFC East and the NFC East are the best two divisions of football. Like
absolutely.
It's crazy. It's like we
It
flipped.
was supposed to be the West team. It was supposed to be the AFC West and the NFC West.
Yeah. I don't know. The Patriots just have a hard time matching up against this team unless there's like crazy weather involved.
Unless there's a hurricane in the middle of the game.
Right. I think the Bills are getting healthy. I got the Bills.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think, like, as good as the Patriots defense has been up to this point this year, I don't think that they're going to be able to stop this offense.
I think Jacoby Myers might be hurt too. Like I don't know. I think he's got the Q tag on him.
Well, they're finally, the Bills were finally getting healthier, and then they lose Von Miller too, which is like a massive.
That's huge for how good. Like Vaughn's been so good for them this year.
Yeah.
And they're already like down some pass rushers on top of that. So,
I don't like in the grand scheme of things that concerns me against the Patriots.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not all that concerned.
I'll take the Bills in this game just because of Josh Allen.
Yeah, he's a huge difference maker, and I feel like the Bills have been getting kind of disrespected because they have been taking their nicks while they've been trying to get healthy. They, teams that probably shouldn't.
That could be like a really good thing for the Bills, though, to be under the radar right now. With Kansas City getting the love they're getting, like I think Cincinnati's getting some more attention. Them being under the radar.
It's tough too with that injury, like with Josh Allen. Like that's tough. That's tough. He still made a freaking dynamite throw to end that ball game, though. What a piss missile.
Man, it is freaking storming out there.
I can't hear a damn thing, man. I'm locked up here in the dungeon, so I got no sound. Was this the last game?
That was the last big game. If there's any other games or any other storylines or anything that you guys want to talk about, now's the time we can do it. That was the last like big game with playoff implications that I could come up with.
Play the best plays, DFS, and
yeah. Hopefully, if we end up doing a DFS show this Friday, our calls end up playing out as well as they did whenever we didn't do a DFS show this past week.
As long as we don't blow away.
Because man, if the DFS takes that we had within our text message group and things like that would have made it to the internet this past week, we were pretty smart. So.
Man, we have got to we have got to get these lineups thrown together. Like I know we build one together, but day of I was on Gino and I seen your lineup and I'm like, oh, he's right. Tennessee stops the run. Tennessee is good stopping the run. They cannot defend the pass. I switched to Burrow, but you had Higgins, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna play Tyler Boyd. Nah, I should have played Higgins, and I should have got different. I should have got different at running back. I mean, like that's the one thing about it.
It's a team effort, though, man. We got to piece this thing together as a team. And I feel like that's the best part. Like I feel like that's the most beneficial part of the DFS show that we do is we can kind of just take a piece a little bit out of all of our brains and put together a lineup. And whenever we've done that, it's been.
I'm pretty sure Mike White won someone $1 million too.
I'm sure a Mike White, Garrett Wilson stat was probably very profitable.
Think about and you played Elijah Moore too, man. What a call on that. What if you would have double stacked listen to this galaxy brain. What if you would have double stacked Mike White with Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore and then had all that salary to go play around with whatever you wanted to?
Yeah, that would have been a nice lineup. I would have never thought of doing that, but it did feel good to see the Elijah Moore pay off, trying to call that it was going to be his best game and stuff like that, and see it happen. It was, again, just another thing that was like, man, I would have loved to have done a DFS show because that was a take that I had teed up ready to send off into the internet, and I didn't get to.
Oh, yeah.
And it paid off, so but it is what it is.
And there were shitty weather conditions on top of it, and they all just blew all expectations out of water. They just crushed basically. It's unreal. Unreal, man. That's why we play the game.
That's why we play the game. Landon, you got anything else?
I sure don't. I'm just ready for a good week. Nice college football slate. Good little day for college football. Conference championships. Be excited. Jared, you all right over there?
Yeah, man. This weather, dude. Like it's pretty wild.
He's itching to go out on the front porch.
Yeah, I'm on the porch too. That's where my computer setup's at.
No, I'm good. Just fading, trying to get better. Hopefully by Friday I'm back to normal. I can, carry, a breath every now and then without having to cough my ass off. Yeah, excited for a weekend college football. Great stuff. I would like to personally welcome Drew to draft season. I know we talked about this. He's officially now on board for draft season, so we will have some great draft content coming out. He's super excited for Dynasty stuff. And
the rabbit hole.
I know. Oh, it goes deep.
Yeah, the Rams season is officially over with 2 concussions. 2 out of 3.
The Colts lose to the Cowboys this weekend. By the way, they are officially out of playoffs.
We're going to be mathematically eliminated. I don't know how the Rams haven't been yet.
Thank God. I'm ready for it to be over with.
That's why Jared was like, they're still in the hunt, and I'm like, no.
Seeing Stafford have concussions.
Also, by the way, if they do end up losing this week, and everything kind of stays similar to how it is, I believe they officially jump into the top 10 in the draft. So,
Uh-oh.
Get a little Will Levis action going on.
They be in business.
Man, the hate for Will Levis. I can't wait for you to hop on Twitter. Man.
Thankfully, the real problem
hates Will Levis.
As a Kentucky football fan, I'm very thankful that the real problem, their offensive coordinator, was let
He's
go.
Gone.
He's gone. They're now in search for a new offensive coordinator. That was the best news that I read today. So, very thankful for that.
Somebody
I feel bad for Will Levis because he doesn't get to see there's only one direction to go for the Kentucky offense in terms of the scheme, and that's up because it was absolutely dog shit this year. So I feel bad for Will Levis, and he won't get to experience that. But he's going to be making millions of dollars in the NFL, so I think he'll be okay. But it's a shame.
Somebody said he was handed the keys to a Ferrari, and he tried to take it mudding through a wet field.
Yeah, it's a shame what happened to the Kentucky offense this year, how Will Levis's draft stock has suffered because of it. If Liam Cohen would have never, which granted,
the turf toe really zapped his mobility too.
It's hard to blame Liam Cohen from going from being the offensive coordinator for the Kentucky Wildcats to being the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. Like, that's just kind of a leap you have to make, even as bad as the Rams season has been. But no doubt in my mind, if Liam Cohen would have stayed at Kentucky, even with the turf toe, things would have looked much better for Will Levis. Yeah. So it's a shame the draft, the hit his draft is taken. But even though I don't have him as QB1 or anything like that,
running back dive, wide receiver screen doesn't work.
Yep. That was basically their offense every set. So
rough. But yeah, that's all I had. I'm good.
All right, send us home.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us again to another fun and lively, exciting episode. You got a close up Drew there. You got a little close to the camera. He was wound up. That was one of the funniest things. Like, you kept getting closer and closer, and I was just like, "Oh, boys!" That was great. But yeah, we're down another episode, down another week. Wonderful football ahead of us. So excited. If you aren't already following us on Twitter, give us that follow at 3 Man Rush Podcast. If you're not following us on YouTube, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification. You can be notified when we go live. We will be live this Friday coming up on Twitter and on YouTube whenever Jared shows you how to win thousands and thousands of dollars in DFS. And Drew creates a lineup that is somehow better than every other lineup in the nation. And then I'm just here. So, that's what I do. So yes, thank you guys so much for joining us. Super excited. Can't wait for a wonderful Friday episode, and we will see you in a couple days.